As we look ahead to 2025, there's a lot of uncertainty in global markets, the global economy, and certainly the global geopolitical situation. Obviously you have soaring tensions in the Far East with China potentially starting a war with Taiwan or even the Philippines at any time. You have a lot of uncertainty going on in North and South Korea right now, with obviously North Korea making a lot of bellicose statements and threats against the South with some missile tests, etc. They're already involved in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Meanwhile, South Korea recently had a lot of political upheaval in their own country with the president declaring martial law and a lot of internal struggle going on there. In the Middle East, it's no better. You have Iran and Israel engaged in a proxy war in the region, even shooting directly at each other several times in recent months, and certainly there's a chance that could pick up at any time. You have the government in Syria was just overthrown by radical Islamic rebels, so a lot of uncertainty there with what's going to happen. And then in Europe, of course, you have Russia and Ukraine, that war seemingly accelerating as it's maybe potentially reaching a climax soon, with potential for a peace agreement with the Trump administration coming in. They've made that one of their key foreign policy aims that Trump campaigned on, but it's hard to know exactly how that's going to shake out. And even if there is a peace agreement, whether that's actually going to be a lasting peace or if it's simply just going to be a pause before even more conflict erupts in the region. So in addition to all of that geopolitical unrest, there's a lot of economic uncertainty. There's still a risk of a recession coming, with unemployment continuing to gradually tick higher in the United States. There's a lot of economic weakness around the world, places like China, certain parts of Europe, Canada, Japan. They're all facing various degrees of economic challenges. The U.S. itself has been facing a little bit on the slower side of growth. And again, with unemployment rising, debt at personal and corporate levels being at really high levels, interest rates seemingly remaining higher for longer. Inflation is not coming down nearly as fast as many hoped it would. It has come down, but it's still got a ways to go to reach the Fed's target level. And so there's uncertainty even about the Fed's ability to cut rates moving forward. Then, of course, you have the Trump administration coming in with their proposed economic changes, especially with the tariffs. Trump has repeatedly doubled down on his intent to push for tariffs, viewing them as a remedy for a lot of the U.S.'s geopolitical and economic challenges. Now, obviously, it's debatable whether or not those will actually have the desired impact. But regardless, there's a lot of uncertainty in the markets about how exactly that's going to impact individual companies, industries, and the economy as a whole. And so with those uncertainties on the horizon as we look ahead to 2025, here are some companies that I personally think are attractive investments right now. But before I get into these investments, if you could please give this video a like, it would greatly aid in its distribution. Thank you so much. Okay, so the first company that I really like right now, given these changes, is Enterprise Products Partners. Now, I've talked about it a lot on this channel, and I understand people may be getting sick of hearing about it, but I can't get sick of talking about it. And that's simply because even after its recent run up in its unit price, I still think it offers attractive value because its distribution yield is still well above 6%. It's covered about 1.7 times by distributable cash flow, has an A- credit rating, the best in the midstream sector. It's expected to grow its distribution around a 5% CAGR for many years to come. Has a well-diversified, defensively positioned business model that should hold up quite well in an economic downturn, do quite well in a stagflationary scenario, and certainly will do fine in an economic boom as well. Also, midstream is expected to benefit a lot from the Trump administration. In fact, Western Midstream, their CEO recently pointed out that he expects midstream actually be one of the main beneficiaries of the Trump administration. And that's really because of the deregulation emphasis, especially in energy. Trump has said he's going to really push hard to maximize energy production, especially oil and natural gas production, and really help the U.S. increase its overall energy output and become increasingly energy independent. And so with that focus, that's going to mean that more pipelines should be able to get built. More production means more volumes for a well-located infrastructure, and Enterprise Project Partners has well-located infrastructure, something they're very strong in. Additionally, something else that's going to really benefit them under the Trump administration is, again, this focus on American manufacturing through tariffs and other incentives. And so there's going to be a lot of reshoring of economic activity. That's going to create a dramatic increase in demand for energy domestically, which again will help well-positioned infrastructure like Enterprise Products Partners has, and especially the AI boom that's going on, and Trump has doubled down on wanting to make that happen in the U.S. So there's going to be a lot of data center construction, a lot of demand for energy, especially natural gas, to power these data centers. And Enterprise Products Partners, on its latest earnings call, management emphasized that they have really well-located infrastructure that should be able to benefit from this AI demand. And so that should be a strong growth driver for the company, should keep its pipelines, its infrastructure at a high level of value for years to come. Something else to like about Enterprise Products Partners is, again, they have these impressive growth projects coming online in the next year or two. And once that happens, there's going to be a huge inflection point for the company because they're going to have their free cash flow soar for two big reasons. One, their CapEx is going to go down once those projects come online. They're no longer spending on building them. Yes, they're going to have some growth projects, but probably not nearly as much to replace them. And if they do, it's only because of the AI boom. They're going to have these really attractive growth investment opportunities, which of course are also a big positive for the company. But if they don't have those, their CapEx is going to plummet, and they're also going to have a huge cash infusion from these projects coming online, which is going to increase EBITDA. And so that's going to do a double effect that's going to cause free cash flow to soar. Meanwhile, leverage is going to plummet. And because again, EBITDA is going to be going up, which will cause the leverage ratio to decline. And so there's going to be all this excess capacity, both in terms of debt and also just free cash flow, that enterprise products partners can use to reward unit holders, whether it be a step size increase in the distribution, a bunch of special distributions, a bunch of unit repurchases, or some other major acquisition that could really boost per unit metrics, which could also lead to a distribution hike. Any of those or all of those options are on the table. And so I see a very bright future for EPD, especially given that it's still not priced that expensively compared to many of its peers. And the yield plus growth is in the double digits, even without even accounting for any valuation multiple expansion. Okay, another stock I think that's set up to do quite well on a risk-adjusted basis in the Trump era, especially with all the uncertainties in the world right now, is WP Carey. And the reason I say that is because WP Carey is a very defensive business. It's a well-diversified triple net lease REIT that invests primarily in warehouse, industrial, and essential retail real estate. And so it's proven both through the 08-09 crisis, COVID crash, that it can hold up very well during adverse economic conditions. So if we do have a geopolitical event play out, if we have a recession just regularly occurring, it should hold up much better than many other investments. Meanwhile, also will do well in the stagflationary scenario because it has the majority of its rent coming from CPI-linked leases, which again will mean its organic growth will be outsized, especially relative to its peers that don't have that kind of CPI-linked indexation for their leases, should outperform them on an organic growth basis. And so that makes it a remarkably resilient investment in a stagflationary scenario. Additionally, its warehouse and industrial real estate emphasis means that it should benefit disproportionately from reshoring of manufacturing and other economic activity to the United States from overseas locations. And so that will make their real estate that much more valuable. There's that much more demand for it. And so that when they have to release properties, or if a tenant goes bankrupt or vacates a property, they have a much higher chance of getting that property released quickly and at a much higher rate. And so again, if they're releasing with a tenant who wants to stay there, they have more leverage to negotiate a higher lease for the release if there's a bunch of other tenants that would gladly take that property over. Additionally, they have a very attractive dividend yield of over 6%. They are expected to grow that dividend in line with adjusted funds from operation per share growth moving forward because the payout ratio is down in the low 70s. And analysts expect that to be in the mid-single digits because of the strong growth pipeline, the same-store growth due to CPI-linked rent escalators, due to the retained cash flow that they're using to invest. And they have a strong balance sheet, BBB plus credit rating from S&P. So all that put together, you get, again, some of EPD, about an 11% yield plus growth total return profile plus valuation multiple expansion that could very well be at play here for them. So again, hopefully these two picks offered some insight into how you can position your portfolio very conservatively, but still with some upside potential as we look ahead to 2025. Again, if this video added value to you, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really greatly appreciate it. I'm getting really close to 4,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. See you next time.